Can we take a moment and talk about accountability? Ooh, boy. Accountability is a word that floats around way too much through the lens of, mastermind groups and even in coaching. It can kind of be pervasive. Accountability is often this structure that people use to mean consequence. And what's really important in the lens of accountability to consider, maybe you've been the type that sees accountability like consequence. Hey, if you don't do this, then here's this thing, right? Our friends like to keep us accountable, hold us accountable. And what that can often sound like or feel like is, if you don't do X, if you don't, I don't know, send your report by Sunday, then you're out of the group, or you got to shave your head or whatever, right? Accountability is an internal operation. It's the understanding of a boundary. It's really not so much about consequence as it is about ownership, and it is about the reflection on why something did or didn't happen. There are plenty of people where that mechanism is completely broken, where they can't do an inner reflection and say like, oh, I could probably get better, or I need to improve. So then accountability it has to become consequence, because there's no other way to say you need to reflect on this. What I think happens though is we get kind of warped in entrepreneur land about accountability becoming punitive, because consequence is not necessarily a bad thing, right? If I call my mom to say that I love her, which I do. Hey, Mom, love you. And she's happy with that. Then the consequence of me calling is that she's happy, she's joyful. And I think that consequence has this like negative, is often very negative, because it sort of like cycles into what we experience as a kid with consequence, which is often you only get a consequence. It's bad. If accountability is different than consequence, but rooted in the same kind of internal operation, then consequence and accountability can also be positive. What I mean to say is that in the land of accountability is also a good thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. I'm going to hold you accountable to this can also mean when you do it, we're going to celebrate. When you complete it, we're going to own that and high five and hug over it. We're going to reflect on it, because accountability cannot exist where a person cannot reflect. It cannot exist. And what I have learned is that, accountability is also the question of why, not necessarily in a way to say like, you need to explain it, but in a way to open up, especially as a coach, especially as a way to open somebody up to like, okay, so what happened? Like, did you get afraid? Did something go wrong? Like, let's try to understand it. Because again, accountability is about reflection, and it's about being able to reflect and say, hey, there's a different way that this could happen, or there's a different way that, I could go about this, or maybe I'm not feeling great. Let's be concrete about this, right? This past Sunday, so yesterday, I had to send a pro forma to two of my pod members, and in that is accountability, right? I said I would send it. I told you guys, hey, I'm going to send this by Sunday, no matter what state it's in. And at the end of the day, yesterday, I'm like, I really wish this were in better order. I really wish it were put together better. I wish it had more information. That doesn't stop me from sending it, but it is important to the reflection, right? That there is a space for me to understand and acknowledge what is going on, rather than just say like I sent it or I didn't. To actually learn and reflect on, well, why do I feel that way? And here's why I feel that way. I want this thing to look great. I want them to open it and be like, wow, you really thought this through. I want them to open it and be like, man, you're so impressive. But the reality is, no one fucking cares. And especially not them. That's not the point of accountability. The point of accountability is to learn through the reflection of what the action is. So I've been thinking about this a lot, because there's times where I want people to take accountability, and the reality is you can't take responsibility, you can't take accountability if there's no reflection. And sometimes I want accountability where there's not a person that can be reflective. Like if you can't sit down and be like, huh, what role did I play in this? What is happening? How is this impacting me? Like you have to be able to ask introspective questions to be accountable. This might help you if you want to maintain accountability. Maybe you're like me. You know, you're building business. You're out and about. You got friends. You got family. And you want to be accountable. We attach our word to something. So we say, you know, I'll have this done by Tuesday, or I'll get this to you by Wednesday. Right? I want to hold me accountable to doing that. And then when a person checks in or says, you know, hey, did you get that done or whatever, rather than get reflective, we get defensive. Sometimes I get defensive. And I get defensive because I know that I'm not doing something, that like an action is incongruent. And this is where accountability and this idea of reflection is so important. If I just say that I didn't do it, or I get defensive, but I don't actually reflect on what happened or why I haven't done it, I am missing the chance to grow. Growth comes in reflection. Growth comes in reflection on the experience. Growth comes in on the reflection of the lesson, of the hardship, whatever it is. There's no point in accountability if you just battle it and come up with a way out. What we're attempting to create is reflection. And I hope that whatever you do, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Car, I don't know what that means. If you are really serious about growing, you should get really serious about reflection. Whatever way you got to do that, go away for a weekend, sit in silence, do a meditation retreat. I don't know. But you'll need to come up with something that can help you reflect. It's so important. Lately I've had this whole thing about letting go and surrender and like letting it come to me and just being willing to receive. I'm opening more to receive more. And that's been happening lately. It's been actually really cool. And as I do that, it requires more reflection. And one of the big reflections yesterday and the day before from my birthday has been that the more I tend to believe it's going to go away. The more I have believed that, just like in COVID, it was just going to snap and disappear, like Thanos in Avengers. Like it was just going to turn to dust. So I've really been working on this thing of like, can I not only let go, but can I welcome something in, knowing that it's here to stay, trusting that it's here to stay, trusting that it's for me, so that I can fully experience it rather than have this fear on the backside. And my accountability to receiving is not just like let it happen. It's also in noticing and reflecting on what is happening. It's been really difficult. And the reflection the other day was really good. I'll do a video probably later about that because it's just been so meaningful. Today's the second day of year 37. And I'm really stoked about it. I'm really stoked about what's coming. I'm really stoked about reflection. And I'm really stoked to have some new definitions of things like accountability, where it's just very easy to get kind of lost in accountability. Shave your head if you don't do it. Rah! And I think that's moronic, to say the least. Anyway, hope you're having a great day. Happy Monday. Hope your week's off to a great start. I'm going to go get some acupuncture to start the week. Happy birthday. See you guys.